Merry Christmas, guys! And welp, 2023 is coming to an end. This year has been a great and also a stressful ride for the entertainment industry this year. From getting some good stuff this year, and also Hollywood being such a pain, that affected the whole movie industry for half of this year. But they both got the deal that they deserved, and also some movies that aren't really doing well financially. But I'm not here to talk about that. So in what way should we end the year for this channel? Oh, you've read the title? I'm listing my top 10 movies of 2023. Movies this year has actually been kinda refreshing for me, from getting some good adaptations and also some really good originals as well. So this is the stuff that I enlisted. You guys don't have to agree with what movies that I listed on here, but make a list of your own and form your own opinion. Before I start, if you like this video or any video that you see on this channel, and you want to see more, just press that subscribe button and turn the bell so you can be notified when I upload a video. And also share this video to a friend or a family member. Anyways, let's get started with the list that I have. This is gonna be a long one, so let's just get this list started. Starting with... Now, as a fan of the horror genre, this one surprised me. I mean, I was a bit skeptical at first with the New York setting because I thought it was just gonna be a basic setting for a movie, and I didn't think that they weren't gonna use it well, but I was wrong. The setting felt unique, and it's honestly everything I wanted from a Scream sequel. There's more attention, the twists are unexpected at times, and it's just a lot more fun than its predecessor. While I do like the previous film, there are some dialogue that kinda felt a bit awkward and just didn't really felt too appropriate for this movie. And this one didn't really have that problem. It's one of my favorite slasher sequels that I've seen this year, and if the next one doesn't stick the landing or if it isn't good, then these movies are significantly worse. Yikes. This one was a bit hard for me to pick which one was better, because I keep thinking that if I like Paw Patrol better, or The Marvels. But the more I think about it, I think I like Paw Patrol better. I know it's a movie that is meant for kids younger than my age, but the way I see it, this movie handled it a bit more maturely than I thought. There are some stakes that in my opinion are handled kinda well. The superpower stuff was handled really well and creatively, and I just like seeing those small little dogs just saving the day in some way with the powers that they had. While there are some pacing issues, and some of the jokes weren't really made for my age that I didn't really find funny, but I think kids will have some giggles out of it. But to me, I find it a really cute animated adaptation to a show. Even though some of the side characters were a bit underused and some of them didn't really get to do that much, but it's still a fun time to watch. If you want to show this movie to your kids, if you have any, then just put this on and I bet they'll have a good time. I wouldn't doubt that this is one of the best animated movies that Nickelodeon put out this year, or in fact of all time. The animation style is unique and really good. The action set pieces are fun to watch, and I love the fact that the turtles are voiced by actual teenagers. They bring these characters so much chemistry to the screen, and I just love seeing them interact throughout this whole movie. While I've never been a fan of the TMNT franchise, this one is just an easy one to enjoy. Now this is how you make a good TV adaptation. Just make something new and unique so the audience can have something new and fresh, instead of just expecting them on what they know. While some of the designs kinda caught me off guard a bit, but I think that's the point for this type of style. But yeah, this movie is also fun in its own way, and I would recommend if you're a fan of the Teenage Turtles franchise. Now, this is how to make a good comeback to the franchise that people thought no one cared about anymore. Saw X is just really good. This movie doesn't really focus on the traps, more it focuses on John Kramer's personal story, as he wants to find a way to cure his brain cancer, but gets scammed really badly by these doctors. So he gets his revenge on them and also to the other patients that they also didn't help or cure. The traps in these movies are just as great as any other Saw film, while this one took me by surprise on how well made the traps are in this one, and this one has one of my favorite endings / climaxes that I've seen in a horror film. I don't want to spoil it in case you want to see it, but it got me so hyped and happy that I think I ever felt in a horror franchise. This is such a breath of fresh air for the franchise to come back. Unless they make more, but either way, I really like this one. Even if you're not a fan of these types of movies, I will still recommend it if you're interested in it. This one is a bit strange to me. Some days I like this movie and other days I just feel different every time I watch it. But it is higher on the list, so I'll try my best to explain myself. First off, the set design in this movie are just on point. The acting is really good, most notably Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. They really give the best performances in this movie. But I think the best way for me to describe this movie is as a fun sitcom comedy movie, but with Barbie. But that's honestly how I see it. But yeah, I think the message that they try to tell in this movie is really nice and wholesome. Another thing that I didn't mention in my review is the other performances that I really like from the actresses, where I'm probably gonna mispronounce their names, but America Ferré and Ariana Greenblatt. I think they also carried this movie by a long shot and just made the movie more enjoyable. While this movie isn't as funny every time I watch it, there are some jokes that still get a chuckle out of me, and I really like how they handled the source material here. I feel like some movies based on toy products don't really know how to make a story on what makes the property special, but this one really worked well in it. But overall, it's just another fun movie that I would recommend, but it is the highest grossing movie of this year, but I'm still gonna recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. When I tell you that this is the most excited I've ever been for a movie in a long time, right between SpiderMan No Way Home and the first Angry Birds movie. At first I was a little cautious because one, it was being made by Illumination and I didn't know if they were going to be good enough to handle this movie. And when the casting came around, some people were having second thoughts. But once the trailers were released, a lot of people changed their minds. This movie looks almost too game accurate, with the floating blocks and everything and just the way it looked. I actually had a dream before they showed any footage for this movie that they shown what the movie would look like. Mario hitting the blocks floating in mid-air. After that I thought, well, they probably aren't gonna do that with the whole floating blocks thing, because that's not how physics works in the movie. But this movie said otherwise, and that's what got my excitement for it, making it as game accurate as possible. I mean, that's the way I see it. But story-wise for this movie, I wish it could have been better, and I also wish that the script didn't feel like it was written by an AI. But out of all that, I still really like it. The animation looks surprisingly good, the action stuff is well directed, and Jack Black Bowser is really cool. And the soundtrack for this movie is just really good, and I never thought that they reused the game soundtrack to add it into the movie, because we actually never had that before. And if they make a sequel, hopefully they will add more story into it, if you know what I mean. Well, this might be my favorite horror film to release this year. Talk to Me is a good example on how to make an original horror film with enjoyable characters, a good original concept, and make it into a scary, fun horror film. Directors Danny and Michael Philippou felt like they did what they could to make this horror film really good. These two went from making video content on the internet into making a really good horror film, and I'm glad to see how far they come as filmmakers. While the ending felt a bit anticlimactic, I didn't really mind it that much. Some of the licensed music that they used was actually used in a good way. Anyways, I don't really have too much to say about this one, it's just really good, and it's my favorite horror film of this year, and I would recommend this one too. Now, moving on to my top 3 movies, aka the movies that make me want to make this list in the first place. Now, despite this movie's weak marketing and also being really misleading with it, Pixar's Elemental is just a really cute movie, and I love it. The two main leads, Ember and Wade, really made this movie really more enjoyable for me, and their relationship throughout this movie. I was just really satisfied with it. Another thing about this movie that I loved that I didn't mention in my review was how good the soundtrack was. The soundtrack has this calm, peaceful sound to it, and it just made me feel good every time I listened to one of the songs. Just listen to this. And I really like the original song that they played for this movie. Steal the Show, and now it's my most listened song on Spotify this year. Yeah, I really like this song. The animation to its element physics was really satisfying and cool to look at. And there are some small details that I like to the fire people to show their expressions. Like this bit, when Ember hides the photo of her and Wade from her dad, and a brief relief expression as if she's about to go out. And when she gets happy or excited, her flame gets brighter, and I just love small details like that. But yeah, I really love this movie. Even though it's not one of Pixar's best films that they put out, but it's just one that I think other people will enjoy too. Bet you were expecting this one to be number 1. But for me, it's not. But it's close. Anyways, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is one of the most visually animated movies that I've seen in any other animated movies that I've seen. It's kinda weird that ever since the first Spider-Verse film was released back in 2018, it kinda changed the animation industry that there is much more you can do with what you can do with 3D animation now. Making it more visually appealing and making it in a way that looks unique. With Across the Spider-Verse animation, it looks more visually better than the first one, especially with the scene in Spider-Gwen's universe, with the background changing with every emotion to fit with the scene's emotional moments. It just looks really good, even though it caught me a bit off guard the first time I watched it, but in a good way. And I love all of the Spider-Man references from the games, shows, and movies. And the way this movie ended, I just can't wait for the second part to release, at some point, but hopefully they'll nail the ending. Alright, before we get to my number 1 movie of 2023, I want to put some honorable mentions on here that almost made the list, but these are just the ones that I find enjoyable that I almost wanted to put on the list. I like this one, but not as much as other people. I don't care what people say, this movie is fun, and I love Ms. Marvel. More for a movie for the fans, but it's an enjoyable one for fans. This one was scarier than I thought, and I really love how the horror stuff was directed, and also very gory than I thought. I really love the action in this, especially with that one-shot action take, even though the first movie did it too. This movie was funnier than I thought, and it's fun, and the music is just like any other Trolls movie. A lot of people are hating on it, but to me, I got something out of it, and I enjoyed the music. Alright, we're done here? Good, and I'm glad that you've made it this far, because my number 1 movie for 2023 is... Well, guess you weren't expecting for this to be number 1, huh? But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is one of my favorite MCU films to come out. This movie is funny, the action is one of my favorites that I've seen in a Marvel movie, it's really emotional, and the last shot of this film almost shed a tear for me. This is how you end a good trilogy, keeping the same energy as the first 2 films were, and ending it in a way that I actually felt satisfied with how it ended. James Gunn really pulled this one off, and I'm excited to see how he's gonna deal with other superhero films. I just really love this movie. Rocket's backstory in this was heartbreaking, and still one of my favorite backstories that I've seen in a character. This movie is a bit long, and some of the jokes are kinda weird, but at the end of the day, it's just a really good Marvel movie, and that's why it is my favorite movie of 2023. Whew. That was a fun list to go through, and editing this is probably gonna be a nightmare. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 video, and tell me what was your favorite movie of 2023. Is yours any different than mine? But anyways, hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, be grateful for this holiday, and also have a Happy New Year. Because in 2024, there's gonna be some changes to this channel, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, Merry Christmas and thanks for watching.